and then talk about it when
Sure.
you're ready.
Sounds good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Horror Movies and Shit. I'm your host, Jim. And with me, as always, is Mark. And I'm fucking tongue-tied today. Mark, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just chilling in my professional studio.
Your professional studio with a terrible sound, right?
Yeah. I don't know. My sound is really bad. I don't know.
It really is. But regardless of you, Mark, I'm really excited about the two people we're talking to today. Did you do any research today? Nope.
Let me try my other mic.
Okay.
That's better. The life of a professional podcaster.
Why? Do you know one?
Oh, it's still bad. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, let's move on.
So anyway, Mark, you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, we have Ron and Tammy from IPossessed. And
Yes, we do.
I believe you work as a is that true?
Mark, your audio is terrible.
Okay.
I'm glad it's not us. It's usually, I'm sorry.
Is that
What, Mark?
is that better?
Sure.
Okay.
For now, anyway.
It sounds a bit better.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, Carl, did you used to work on a cruise?
I'm sorry. What was that
You
again?
used to work on a
Oh,
cruise.
I used to work on Carnival Cruise Lines. I did that for 10 years, doing stand-up comedy.
Yep.
Which is like an
Yeah, which was a horror film in itself.
I have an ex that used to perform on cruise ships, and he hated it too. So I get it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was a dancer. I forget, Princess and Royal Viking, I think.
Yeah, well, they're there for like 8-9 months.
Yeah.
We got to at least go home every week and or weekend or.
Well, that's good.
I always felt for those guys.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, I'm not a performer anyway. Oh, I think Mark dropped. He must be coming back in. But anyway, so I got to meet both of you guys because there was a local screening of your film.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, Carl, you were a writer. Did you direct the film also?
I co-directed it. I'm in 90% of the movie, so it's very hard to look at everything and while I'm on set. But I spent 3 months before we shot doing Zoom calls and setting up the shot list and basically just sticking to the blueprint of what I visioned for the entire film. And then when I was on set, I kind of just took a little bit of a step back and made sure everything was working.
Nice. So you had a local screening of the film that I got to go see, and you were kind enough to give me an autograph poster, which is awesome. It's going to be framed on my wall up here.
Thank you, buddy.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about how the movie came about.
Yeah, well, we just wanted to. We needed. Tammy and I were going around trying to pitch this other, more expensive budgeted film to some investors, and they were always like, "Well, what do you have? What can we see?
What have you done?
What have you done before?" And it's like, "Oh, we really haven't done anything. I've acted in some stuff, but never really, produced some shorts or whatever, but nothing to my own." So I had this one house, kind of horror film script that I had been working on for a while that I got from a friend. And then, I said, "Hey, you want to try and shoot this? And we'll pay for it ourselves." And it's a one house thing. So how much could it really cost? And Tammy was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And it's like, oh wait, so it costs a lot of money to do it. So but we started the process in 2019, and that's kind of what made us do this particular film. Although I knew it was a good script and what it was, but I just thought it would be the easiest one we could do to get our names out there and what we possibly can do. So that's basically why we shot it. You want to elaborate on the actual why?
Well, I think that's it because it's kind of like Shark Tank. They're not going to invest in people without them doing the work first, And so we thought the budget was going to be this, and then it ended up being like so far out of our reach. And we did like 10 test screenings once the rough cut was done. And along those test screenings, we actually did questionnaires. We, interacted with the audience. We wanted audience feedback. We changed a lot of the movie based on feedback. And along the way, we did meet some wonderful people who wanted to jump on board and help us financially, finish the special effects and the amazing score and music and everything. I mean, we have a soundtrack on Spotify with all original songs, and I mean, it's just we were able to get it to the level that we always wanted to because we did it first. We jumped off the cliff. We committed and jumped off the cliff first and took the risk. And and we're probably still in for like 2/3 financially, but then we were able to, get support. I think there's just something so attractive about commitment. And no one, if you know Carl, there's no one on the planet more committed than Carl. This is all he eats, breathes, sleeps, speaks.
I'm in this shirt for 5 years.
We're in this shirt.
Stage every time. People are, why is this guy
committed? And it's like, I don't know, after a while they know we're a safe bet because we've gotten this far. It's like, we just needed help getting it finished. So yeah.
Well, I've only seen the trailer, but one location is always the best thing to do for a low budget movie. But the trailer does not look cheap at all. The film quality looks great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out.
I have to say that seeing this film in the theater does not feel like an independent film. It's shot really well. The special effects are awesome, especially Timmy in your story arc. That was intense, and I loved it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, that was the one thing was we weren't going to sacrifice anything going into the one house, and we had to find that one house. And in the initial script, it was a lake house, and then I had been searching for months and months trying to find a location, and was looking for that. I know in the opening scene we have this tub,
the clawfoot
tub, and that was always my vision for the opening scene. So I found a B&B that does weddings, and it had this room with a clawfoot tub. So I was like, well, maybe I can piece the movie together, shoot in a regular house, and then kind of piece that clawfoot tub in with the movie. So I go there, I get to the location, I talk to the guy on over the phone. I didn't even go through like Verbo, I just went straight to the guy, which was a better decision, the owner. And we had a great conversation. He said he shot a national commercial there. So I went to see the location. And the pictures on the website didn't do it justice. I pull up to the place. It's this beautiful farmhouse. And as soon as we pulled in, I was like, oh, it's a farmhouse now. Please don't cost $100,000. Please don't cost for a month.
Gonna charge $100,000.
Yeah, please. So, but he let us shoot there for a month, and he gave us an amazing deal. He helped out on set. Some locals there in Lake Placid, Florida, helped out on set. And I couldn't have built a better set. I couldn't have built it. It was just perfect. And I wrote around what was already on the property too. I wrote the bonfire scene, the barn scene, the bridge,
yeah.
the giant cross was already there. I wrote that into the storyline. It just worked.
It is so gorgeous. People, they do a lot of weddings there. And it's so funny since we've filmed, because they have a big poster now, I Possess poster in the house, and they're proud of the fact that a movie was shot there.
Yeah, there's still remnants of blood, I think.
We actually, for sure. We actually met, Carl was doing a comedy show, and we met a couple. They said we got married at the same place, and we know all about the movie and everything. It's just so funny. So people are still getting married there.
Yeah.
Even after our movie.
Yeah, so and that's I shot on cinematic cameras, and we got really great lenses, and I knew what we needed. I had a really good DP, and I asked them, what do you want? Tell me your bucket list, and I'll do my best to get everything you need to shoot this at a level that we want to compete in,
And we did what most independent filmmakers just are not able to do. We had 24 shoot days for the bulk of the movie. And then, we had some pickup shots and other scenes and stuff too. So probably what, 30
About 32 total shoot
days. And that's a lot for an independent film, but we just knew going in, like, this is,
do it right.
We wanted extra wiggle room to,
learning
to learn. Yeah, for sure.
And
Now-
again, although I haven't seen the movie, one of the things I've found with independent movies is that a lot of times they've got very narrow shots, and the trailer shows more kind of wide, bigger shots, which I think makes a movie just look better. Honestly, like, I know sometimes they go for like narrow shots for a reason, but especially
we didn't want. Yeah, no, thank you. Well, we didn't want, because it's in one, like a lot of it's in one house. So we wanted to spread it out too. We didn't want the audience to be claustrophobic. I really don't feel like you feel like you're in one house through the entire film. I feel like we shot it where we got enough wides, where we spaced it out enough to feel like it was many locations. And I didn't want people to feel claustrophobic. And so I think we achieved that goal in doing that.
You told us a story at this screening that I thought was really funny. There was something you were expecting to see at the farmhouse that you had to later add in.
Yeah.
Yes, cows. Yeah. So we were supposed to shoot in 2020, and we obviously had to push. We pushed exactly 1 year for the pandemic. We had already rented the house, but they were so gracious to be like, all right, we'll do it a year later. So we kept the house, but he had cows initially. So I wrote these cows into this film, and there's a few jokes in it. And it just, I don't know, I fell in love with these cows. And then when we get back in 2021, it was like, where are the cows? He's like, I sold them.
And then we thought, well, we'll just rent them. How much can they cost? Well, it costs $4,000.
$4,000 just to get them back.
That's an expensive side of beef.
Yeah. So a little side note is we CGI'd them. we actually went around to a whole bunch of different areas around there and shot some B-roll of us, me and the character of Zoe, pointing at the cows and cows in the background. But it just didn't match when we got it back in the editing room. So we were like, okay, we'll digitally put. But it looked great.
They did. I didn't realize that they were CGI until you told us.
Yeah. So it's a little fun tip going in, knowing
we're doing a Blu-ray
commentary
with commentary and deleted scenes and bloopers, and
you'll have to keep it posted, because I definitely want to buy the physical media.
That's okay. Yeah, we're gonna do everything. We're doing VHS. We're old school like that, we love that stuff.
So, Carl, you are a stand-up comic, and you still do comedy shows all around Florida, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm 28-year veteran stand-up.
He just shot his comedy special in December, so it's coming out soon.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to bring it up. I heard something about that, but
it's gonna blow the roof off of the whole comedy world. I'm so excited.
That's exciting. That's absolutely exciting. So, why a horror movie, Carl?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, like I don't know if I had mentioned that in the Q&A that it used to be a comedy. It was a comedy for a very lengthy portion of the script. 3 months before we decided, it was 121 pages, a lot of comedy, 85% of it. And then it turned into like a business decision where the guy who's directing with me, he goes, what is this, a horror or a comedy?
Like, pick a lane.
Yeah, we need to pick a lane.
Because the comedy was taken with horror took away from the comedy.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not rewriting this thing.
Mark, you have a wicked echo right now.
Yeah, you think that's us? Or?
No, I can see it. It's back from Mark.
Mark.
Troublemaker.
No, it's
my mic is apparently still happening. I don't know how much.
What's that, Mark?
No, because I muted my mic, but I could still hear the echo, which is weird.
Oh, we didn't hear it on this side.
Yeah.
Anyway, You'll talk and I'll try and figure my stuff out. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, no worries. So we it was 3 months out, and and Tammy's like, just give it, sleep on it. And I woke up the next morning. I was like, you're right. What is it? Is it a horror film or is it a comedy? And then we thought on a business level, it should be a horror film because one, we're not stars. Two, it's hard to sell a comedy horror. And three, it was taken away from the scares. The comedy of it all was taken away from the scares. And there's going to be time to do comedies later on. In fact, the next one we're working on is a horror comedy. But this one we needed to impact people, and it was just I took the advice. The next 3 months, every day, all day, completely rewrote the script and brought it down to 88 pages from 121 pages. Just and elevated the scares and the internal struggles of each character. And it is what it is today, because of some good advice that a lot of filmmakers probably would be like, I'm not doing it. And I think you have to bend a little in the filmmaking process. You have to be open to suggestions.
Well, we know that, you can get a horror movie out without big stars,
Right.
whereas the comedy would require, a big name. So, and, hold tight because, yeah, we have comedies in the future. We just wanted to get on the scoreboard. Although making a psychological thriller was a blast. Like, it really was fun to shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, someone in the comments, murder is not entertaining to me.
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm not a horror movie person either,
Here
which
we
is
go.
funny. But I honestly like any genre that has a good message and a good story and
Hello,
something
hello.
compelling that I can think about. And so that's what this movie is. There's a lot of layers and there's a deep message, and it is resonating with audiences because of that. Oh, now we can't hear you, Jim.
I accidentally muted myself. I was
Oh,
trying
there.
to get the live comments on Facebook, so I didn't want you to hear the playback. Anyway, let's talk without giving too much away. Carl and Tammy, give us the elevator pitch for the film.
Well, it's basically just these 5 people go to this house. And this house is haunted. The way this house haunts them is by their past regrets and dark secrets start creeping out throughout the night.
And you're following Carl's character, who's a veteran who just retired, and he has PTSD. And because of that, the veterans who've watched the film have really resonated with his character and felt seen because PTSD isn't portrayed enough. So we're really proud of that.
Yeah.
But it also explores, kind of the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is I did something bad, and shame is I am bad. And so each person, and I think we can all relate to this, has a past regret that they feel unforgivable for. They feel, here they are, a group of friends, and they think they know each other, but they don't really know what each person is secretly struggling with and harboring on the inside. And so they're all in the same house, but each being haunted separately by their past and being confronted with their past, and they each have an opportunity to forgive themselves for it or not. So
Yeah, I don't I that's one thing that I actually was talking to a friend of mine about the other day when I told you that I think I was texting with Carl, and I told him I sent your tour schedule for the film to a couple friends and over on the west coast of Florida. And as soon as I told him that the main character was suffering from PTSD, he was immediately on board.
Well, that's cool. No, that's really cool.
He was excited about it. I don't want to ruin it, but I gotta say the ending was awesome.
Thank you.
When you realize what Volo is dealing with, not just the PTSD, but some of the other subject matter, I thought that was fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, we were proud of the ending. Last 18 minutes kind of tells you what you've just watched for the past hour and 20 minutes.
Yep.
Was
escalates. I think, maybe it's a slow burn at first, but it ends with
And one thing we really wanted to get right was the ending, because a lot of films that we've seen, like psychological wise, it always starts off either really good and then kind of fizzled out at the end.
Yep.
And one thing we wanted to do was just have that banging ending where you kind of walk out of there going, the hell did I just watch?
And that's what I liked about it, was that you don't always get a happy ending with this, with a movie, with anything in life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you've just muted again.
I don't know why. All I did was pick up my microphone. So weird. Anyway, but that's what I really liked about the film, is that it was a realistic ending, right? It wasn't just ending the movie to, where everybody is happy or whatever. It was a realistic ending, because, well, I don't want to ruin it, but they'll figure it out when they see it.
And we left it open for possibilities,
Mhm.
for future.
You
So
did. So I'm curious, the subject matter with some of the different characters. Did you take that from real life experiences, or were those just regular, or just subjects that you'd always thought about exploring?
Yeah, no, 100%. The PTSD part, and obviously, I mean, I'm a comic, so, but, we're dark people. But I did have a drinking problem when I was on the cruise ships, became full-blown alcoholic, got off the cruise ships, tried to sober up myself. And just I couldn't. Like I was talking to people that weren't there. I was hallucinating. I was shaking. It was everything. I tried to do it myself, and so that was all. I put that. That's why he talks to his dead lieutenant through the whole film, because I know what it's like to talk to somebody who's not there, and dealing with these things. And I wanted to highlight the PTSD because the military is the highest form of PTSD I can think of. I think we all have a form of it. It's just different levels. And obviously I'm not a military person, but I watched a lot of documentaries of these people coming back, these military men and women coming back, and it just kind of struck my heart chord, and I was like, I have to do this right. And so I did put a lot of what I knew about myself into that character. The other ones, just kind of, Tammy helped out with her character a lot, going through what she's going through.
I haven't, like, I hadn't experienced what my character experienced, but I interviewed a lot of people who had gone through that experience, and actually gathered a lot of information from that. But then I wrote a whole like story about my character, like her history, how it happened, why it happened, and just moment by moment of what she went through during the procedure and everything. And so I had like this whole story in my mind, about my character and what she was going through. So the sad part about a feature film, we have like what, an hour and 44
minutes to try and figure something out.
And in this era of like, series and streaming, and people are so into character development, because you have like 12 hours worth of character development in these series, but in an hour and 44 minutes, you just get a snippet of their life. And this basically took place in one night. The movie takes place one night. And so it's almost like as an actor, you have to create your own character development in your mind, so where this character has come from and where they're going, and you just catch them right here in this moment. But I don't know. Anyway, I just interviewed a lot of people to help me get in that.
Yeah, and like you said, the other situations, because they're reveals and stuff, but that's every day. You see that it's everyday life.
And someone in one of our screenings, let's see, in the Villages, I think, this young girl said, what she noticed about IPossessed is, a lot of horror movies have this outside character that's haunting the people, whereas this is, you're being haunted inside, from inside yourself. And I just thought that was a pretty unique way to think about it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really, really liked about the movie was, what is that? Anyway, that's one of the things I really liked about the movie, was that the threat wasn't external, right? Everything had to do with things that you experience and everything you go through. So it was very interesting, because I love the psychological aspect to that, because it's like Carl said earlier, it's your grief and your regret that's really haunting you and holding you back.
And it, and in a sense, there is an external, There's
Yeah.
there's two externals, so we're kind of playing with the audience mind. Was the objective was what are we scared of? Are we scared of this, that, or the thing that's inside me?
A lot of twists.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're muted again. Jim, we want to hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, still muted. Nope. Still muted.
Is that better?
They're there. Yeah. We want to hear you.
Yeah, I apologize. My microphone doesn't want to cooperate today. So one thing I did want to say is you mentioned earlier that you were talking about how you only get a snippet of these people's lives, but I think you handled it really well with not too much exposition. Like you still understand that there's history with these people, but you don't have to explore all of that history, just the stuff that's relevant to what's going on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I feel like we have, and it's been stated was, wow, a horror film with likable characters.
Yeah, and that's hard to do, right? Because a lot of times now they just don't.
Yeah, and we kind of wanted to do it. I'm not sure my character's too likable, but I think everybody else I did a good job.
Well, I mean, maybe not likable, but understandable, right?
Yeah.
You can understand his motivations in the film. I mean, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but they're very understandable motivations.
Yeah, good call.
So there is that. Whether he's likable or not is debatable.
Yeah.
But you went through.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tammy. What were you going to say?
We just wanted to move people because we know people don't remember what you say or what you do, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. And so that's how we looked at every scene as like its own movie, and what emotion are we evoking from each scene and from each character, each moment. And so I think we pulled it off because people, it's just been wild. Everything about making an independent film is hard. And terrifying and difficult and obstacles and man, but being able to connect with the audience in the Q&As and just hear how much it's resonating, it's just, it just makes everything worth it. And we can't wait to make another one.
I can't wait either. Like I said earlier, I'm really excited about physical media because this is actually a movie I will rewatch.
Thank you.
Cool. I love that.
So you guys are on tour with your film now, right?
Yeah. Our goal is 25 cities. We might exceed that. So we're actually local this week in Davie, Florida, and that's a old theater I used to work at when I was 19. So it's kind of like a big deal for me, to full circle moment.
And he's going to be on the local news tomorrow talking about it. So that's pretty awesome.
Be on Deco Drive, South Florida. And then the next week we go to Atlanta. Right after that, Tuesday, we head up to Atlanta, screening up there, and then over to Savannah, and then back to St. Pete Beach, back to back to back.
Naples.
And Naples.
I know I asked you this while we were in the Q&A, but why did you decide to do a tour personally rather than like the film festival circuit?
Yeah, we tried to get in some of the bigger festivals, and it wasn't even that we didn't really want to do the circuit. We just wanted to maybe get in a big festival. We thought it warranted it, but in these days you got to kind of have somebody to champion your film, or it's do you have a star in it? What's the it's hard to get past the gatekeepers, especially if you don't have anybody championing your film. And then it was like, okay, well, we tried some big ones and we didn't get in. So I knew going to distribution, that was what was a deal breaker for me if they didn't want to do this tour. I'm a stand-up comic. I can draw people to the shows, and I can draw people from the shows to the film. So I'm like, this should be, a kind of an easy thing. So
we did for the test screenings.
Yeah.
We knew we could.
We had a proof of concept with the test screenings.
Yeah.
We had, 50 to 100 people at each one. So, obviously it was free there. Now we're in the theater system and they got to pay, but it's a finished film. It wasn't finished when we did it. So we interviewed with a few distributors, and, they all just kind of wanted to throw it out on the platforms. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. We'll wait. And then we met Good Deeds, Cranked Up Films out of Ohio, and we met the owner basically the owner's son, like we're talking with the top dog of the company, not a PA, and he's like, I love your film. There's a theater component there. I love you're a stand-up comic. We'll support you. They hired a awesome person, Suzanne Jacobson, who does theatrical, works with independent filmmakers. She's been booking us the theaters. So I just been working on the comedy aspect of it. And so we're working as a team together with Cranked Up Films and trying to spread the word about it. I think this is a word of mouth film.
Well, and the reasoning behind doing theatrical first is when we do theatrical, we can get the reviews and the ratings and we do check them out. IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, we're already accumulating a lot of reviews, and it's just so exciting to see that because they're organic,
Yeah,
and
not everybody's gonna like the film. We get it.
but we're so far,
yeah,
we're coming
so
out
far it's
strong.
pretty positive.
But because of the reviews and the theatrical, when we go to Apple, Vudu, and Amazon on April 8th, it's going to boost the algorithm for us. So we'll populate hopefully with the top movies. And then our distribution company is going to shop it around to Netflix and Hulu and other platforms as well. And it'll look more marketable and appealing because we've had theatrical, because we have the reviews. So.
And plus we're getting people that wouldn't even know about our film to the play. People are coming in just organically, seeing our poster, watching the trailer, and just coming in without any marketing as far as what the theater has going on.
I'll be honest, I went in totally blind. I had no idea what the movie was about. I just knew that it was shot locally.
Oh, that's cool. You didn't even watch the trailer?
Nope.
Oh, that's great. So you were surprised when Zoe did the turn.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
I did the day of read the snippet on IMDb.
Okay.
To understand the big points, but it was really, really well done. So I was really excited.
Thank you.
Even as my mom and I were walking into the theater, I'm like, yeah, this might not be so great, so let's just be nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I always like supporting independent films in general, but some of them are not so great, which is why we were so shocked with the quality camera work, the special effects. Dialogue Craft wants to know the name of the film. The name of the film is IPossessed.
Yes.
And they're currently doing a movie theater tour.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them your website so that they can get the schedule?
Yeah, IPossessed, just one word, IPossessed movie.com.
And we'll be out on Apple, Vudu, and Amazon next Tuesday, April 8th.
And Google, April 8th. It'll be out for streaming. But we're still continuing with the tour. It's great to see it in the theater. If we're near you, I would recommend seeing it on the big screen.
Yeah, I would agree, because some of the shots that you have in this, I think, are going to lose a little bit going to a smaller screen.
Yeah, and some people are just on their phones watching it or what, there's that element of you got to pay attention. You have to, you can't just make dinner and watch the film, because you're not going to get, there's things happening that are foreshadowing. So it's not one of those films where you're going to have to put a little bit of a thinking cap on, to get through.
There is a question. Dialogue Craft wanted to know, is filmmaking for you more of a passion or a job, and how do you balance it?
Well, that's the thing, that's all filmmaking really is for a lot of us, is a passion, but you have to have passion going into it. We want to turn it into a regular job. Of course, that's the goal. I'm a stand-up comic. That's the main job, but we put all our money in this. We're producers on this, so hopefully it'll pay off in the end. So hopefully this will turn into a job.
Well, I'm just laughing at the balance word, because there's no balance.
There's no balance.
We're so out of balance.
You have to go in just fully committed. If you're not, if you don't eat, breathe, sleep the film that you're making, it's very hard to get what you want. Like I had, like she said, it's been a 5-year process, but every day I've thought about this movie and done something towards getting this film done.
And to, again, the word passion, I think really embodies it, because there's, you can go to a job and work. I used to work in labor and delivery as a nurse, and I did 12-hour shifts, and I would come home exhausted and just depleted. Whereas this, we worked, 22 hours a day and we were exhilarated, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it's like where your heart is, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna feel that passion. And so yeah, I do believe, I'm just gonna throw this out there, but I do believe the passions were put in our heart by God. Like I really believe like our purpose is our passion, and every person, you become an alcoholic if you're not going for your purpose and your passion, or you know what I mean? You get depression, you get, you know, all these other things because you're not locked into what you were called to do. And so there's my plug. Go for it. Even though you're totally out of balance and you're probably not going to get paid for a while at least, but
So Dialogue
totally
said
worth
thank
it.
you. They're from the UK, so they're looking
Awesome.
forward to watching the film.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So, you want to put on the trailer? But did I mute? No. Okay. I'm gonna put on the trailer for you.
Sure. Awesome.
Oh, it looks like it's buffering for some reason. Tried this again.
Tad, the whole house. It's beautiful.
I can't believe it. G.I. Joe civilian.
Your brother's just a regular guy now.
So glad you're back.
This is supposed to be a celebration.
To great friends. Dad's old radio.
It said something to me.
Oh, what'd it say?
A warning.
So? Any idea how this thing got inside my sister?
Whatever has a hold of Zoe is something planned for us too.
Don't ever think I don't have your secrets in my possession.
Who are you? We can wait this out, and then we can all get the hell out of here. If there's a chance that if one of us leaves, it kills my sister, I'm not taking that risk.
You are a soul protector.
Who knows what that thing will do once it releases Zoe? We're dealing with something none of us understand.
What are you gonna do?
Now you can't leave.
She's everywhere.
There's a reason for all of us being here tonight. To cleanse our souls and release our demons.
What have you done?
Am I being held hostage by a demon? Or by you? That's the thing about demons. They always come back to haunt you. Don't let him go!
You did this to us!
Secrets.
So that was the trailer, and I loved it.
Thank you.
I thought it was great. So you talked about your physical transformation for the film too, because you were quite jacked in the film.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, about 10 pounds heavier.
Is always camera ready, like every day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I just trained for it. I wanted to be this big menacing dude. And, I got my shirt off a few times that I get made fun of all the time, but it's not like I wrote it in there it's like, it just was part of the thing. But yeah, I've definitely paid for that.
So I'm curious, tell me about the special effects, because we talked about that earlier, like especially with Tammy's story arc. You have some pretty impressive special effects.
Thank you. Yeah, going in, we wanted to do practical for the most part, and then things just didn't work out as I wanted to, especially for maybe the possession girl, the in it. So we had to do that VFX along these test screenings, like Tammy was saying. We were we're paying for these VFX, and we had a lot that we needed, and through this test screening, I met a guy who came to a comedy show that came to a test screening, comes up to me after the screening, His name's Zach Judson, and he goes, "I do special effects. What do you need as far as, you said it's not a lot." And I was like, we got this and that. And he goes, "Well, I'd be happy to do it." I was like, "How much?" And he goes, "I'd be happy to help out." And he's worked on Marvel, he's worked on Avengers, he's worked on Batman, he's worked on a whole bunch of stuff. That used to be his profession, was doing
Iron
that.
Man.
And
Yeah.
he came in and we got on a Zoom the next day, and now we're good friends to this day. He did that. He was my special effects supervisor for the rest of the film, and got me what I needed. There was no. I was like, "Is it possible to do this?" And he's like, "Carl, nothing's impossible. It's just it's just legwork wise." But he came in, and it was a blessing to have him because I was struggling trying to figure out.
We were in so far over our heads. So
Our first special effects person did a great job on certain things, and then we kind of exhausted their capabilities. And there was stuff I wanted to get done. They were like, we can't do anymore. We've done enough." Like, it was like, "Oh, this is how it's okay. I guess I'll have to look elsewhere." And then things would just come to us, and he came up and said that there was.
And of course, Zach said he worked on Marvel movies, and we're like, did he say Marvel?
Yeah.
Marvel? Like, did he really say Marvel?
I talked to him alone, and I didn't know exactly what he said. I'm like, "Yeah, I think he did. I don't know. He was saying like something." And they were like, "Wait, Marvel?"
That's pretty great. So you mentioned Zoe's makeup when she gets possessed. Like, why weren't you happy with it? I thought it looked great. Like, what more were you trying to do?
Yeah, the special effects look great. The way before special effects, it just looked like a marker, like someone had drawn on her face.
Yeah.
The special effects like made it move and made it just look more natural. And we learned a lot. This was our first go. And they said, actually, if you're going to do special effects, to just leave the face blank. Like, that would have been easier rather than like fixing the lines that were already drawn in. So anyway, we learned a lot, and we had to pay for that one.
I mean, but it came out great. You guys definitely got
It did.
Dialogue
did.
Craft wants to know, how do you guys avoid tropes, especially with horror and occult type films? And is there a process during the writing of the script where you just knew it was ready?
Oh yeah. The very last day before we shot.
Well, I mean, the script was still evolving even through the shoot, but I think how to answer your question is, you have to be open to input. Like, we've experienced so many filmmakers who are married to the first draft of their script, and it's like, no, you have 28 more drafts at least.
Yeah.
And then you might have to rewrite that. It's just like, just to be open to the feedback. And again, we were really vulnerable with our test screenings, just taking all the critiques, and we did make changes. And especially where there was questions over and over and over at the same point, we're like, okay, we got to throw this out. And
yeah, and we knew this, the story wise wasn't a generic possession film. We knew it wasn't even about the possession, really.
Right.
It's about the demons that are inside all the characters that are there. So it wasn't about avoiding anything, because I already knew what the piece was. It was just, I thought it was a fun way to actually egg on the other characters and move the story along.
And just like, we were at Spookala a couple of times, and these are the horror movie fans, and I felt like Little House on the Prairie going Spookala, but then it was like best friends with everybody. It was actually a blast. But
I'll actually be there next weekend.
Cool. You could just tell, though, every person is looking for the next new thing, and everyone's looking for a fresh take, and that's the thing. I think the most overwhelming feedback from every screening that we've been at is, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I was surprised. Like, this held my attention. There were so many twists. I had no idea where you were going with this. And, so that's what's so exciting, is I think it will be rewarding for our horror movie fans who are expecting one thing. It's going to be quite another.
Yeah.
I have to say that a lot of the topics that you cover in the film are very topical, And I think that is very important, especially with art, to make a statement, no matter what your stance, to make a
Yeah.
statement in general to get people talking. And I think you guys did that really, really well in the film, and you covered a
Thank you.
lot of stuff.
Yeah, thank you. And this was written before it was this topical, these things. But that's the thing we always wanted to. There was never an agenda for anything. It's just
Right.
more like what people really struggle with in their own lives. These are real events. And some people have a different response to what's happening there in their life differently. Everybody's different. So we all have different, we all react perspectives. Yeah.
And that's exactly what I liked about it, is the things that they're dealing with are just the stuff that everybody deals with, and it didn't define them as a person completely. It was just one facet of them that sometimes would gives them that internal turmoil.
Yeah. Yeah, which is also not ask too much question is, do you need a rich knowledge of horror films to make a great horror film, or could you make one with little influence? Yeah, I don't have a rich knowledge of
I
making horror
sure
films.
didn't either.
I enjoy, I've enjoyed, of course, the Nightmare on Elm Street and all growing up, and I enjoyed horror films, but it wasn't my main thing. And I would say this is more of a psychological, but it has that horror element in it, that's
Mhm.
supernatural. But yeah, I don't think you need it's like write what but I know real people, and
Yeah, I think if you can connect to a person's pain, like that's going to connect to everybody, because everyone deals with, pain, loss, disappointments, anger, all those emotions that are universal.
yeah, and you can write what maybe scares you, like that's just whatever, not everybody's gonna, especially if you're really into horror and blood and gut, this might not be the film because it's not really a slasher.
It's not a slasher.
So, it's everybody's different in what they like.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think it's not even so much about the type of movie you make. You just have to be passionate about the movie itself.
Yeah,
Whether
I
it's a
agree.
comedy or horror, anything. If you're passionate about it, your emotion will come through.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So why don't we probably should have started with this, but where can people follow you guys, and where can they follow the film?
Yeah, just IPossessedMovie.com, and you can follow the film and the tour and we're always updating it constantly.
And we have IPossessed Facebook, IPossessed Instagram. I think there's an IPossessed TikTok.
Yeah, we just
There
got
is?
kind of
Yep.
got on there. Yeah, working on that. Our guys doing it. I've never been like
But
that.
on TikTok.
Yeah.
But
And then just my name, Carl Remy, and Tammy Lee Boothby, her name.
well, I'm Healthy Tammy Lee
Healthy Tammy Lee.
on Instagram. Yes.
It's funny because when I was talking to Tammy Lee at the screening, she asked how I heard about the film, and I'm like, I just found it on Facebook. I don't know. I don't remember how I first heard about it.
No,
So-
that's really cool.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Anything else you want to tell anybody about the movie that you made? You have any? I heard some of your funny on-set stories, like about the overalls and the cooking and stuff. Any funny anecdotes you can give about stuff that happened behind the scenes?
Well, there was a lot of things. I had these dogs that kept barking on all,
There were farm dogs that were outside, but every time Carl had an emotional scene, they must have sensed it and they started barking. Like Carl's like welling up with tears.
They got out of their cages.
And then they're like,
and we're doing like a BTS and a blooper reel and stuff. We were going over some footage, and we found early in the film those dogs were barking in some of the, and I totally had forgot about that. So, and we'll put those moments.
some of the crazy moments for me, the owner of the Airbnb, they were having another house built. Like this is their home. They raised their children in this home, and they have their family pictures on the walls, and they're in a fifth wheel on the property, and so they would just wander in, without any notice, just to check in on things because it's their home. And so I understand, but there were some nights it's like, please do not come We had blood everywhere. We had to repaint a room because there was so much blood on the, on the ceiling and just crazy. And then there's this one scene where, I guess you saw it in the trailer, like Carl's lifted in the air and we had hoisted ropes around the beams on their ceiling and everything. And I mean, it was just like, please don't go tonight. One time when she did come in, it was during the day, and we had moved, I'm telling you, we had moved every piece of furniture in the house, and we had to clear space, so we had stuff all, just stuffed into one side room. I mean, the bed was vertical. Like we stuffed so much stuff, and she walks upstairs and wants to go into that room, and we're like, oh, there's someone sleeping in there right now, and she's like, oh, okay. And so she ended up going into a different closet, and she walked, we were like, yeah, you can't see what we've done to your house, Right. But yeah, besides that, and then there was a scene in particular with you and I where, anyway,
She can't
tell you. Yes. It was pretty fun.
It's a reveal.
I mean, that's so I'm curious, there's a lot of heavy material in this film, right? Was there any time during this filming when you're trying to be really serious that you just couldn't keep character?
Yeah, on the reveal part.
Okay.
But not so much actually in my case. It was kind of tough, especially like producing and wearing all these hats and then trying to get into this character of this guy that's going through this throughout the night. So there wasn't a lot of moments where I would break or anything like that. And if we were shooting a comedy, probably all the time. But
yeah,
it was a different movie. It was different. It was hard.
I agree. Since we were producing, because I'm plunging a toilet. Again, I don't want the owners to come in and, we broke their toilet and oh my goodness. So I'm like plunging the toilet. They're calling for me for my scene upstairs. And I'm like, the toilet's overflowing. Like, it's just crazy. And then you have to go up and I'm saying, someone's asking me where their wardrobe is and I'm answering questions and telling people to move this and that. And then it's like, okay, act. And it's like,
yeah.
to like switch gears and get into, I have to go back into the story of my character and find that connection to that emotion that you're trying to evoke. But I think that was the hardest part, is to put the producing part of us on the side, when everyone's asking us questions, like, everyone comes to us for everything. So it was like we had to put that aside and just stop talking to people and take a moment. I actually got cast in another horror movie, and all I'm doing is acting. And then I'm like, that's it? Like, you don't want me to take the garbage out? Like, I'm happy to move this chair, to the other room. Or like, because it's so funny. It's just such a different thing to only have to act rather than, holy cow. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, how did we do this? But at the same time, it's like, we want to do it again, I think we work well together.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have a great finished product, so you should be really proud of what you've done.
Thank
Carl and Timmy, what do you guys have coming up that we should get excited about?
Well, just the comedy special will be out, and this film, will be, on, like I said, on the platforms, and we're working on some other stuff. Like, got a comedy horror film in the works. It's funny, it's good, and it's unique, and and I have a TV series that I'm working on. It's about these three middle-aged guys that go back to college to play for the worst Division III football team in the country. So they kind of still have eligibility because they never went to college. So it's like old school meets Friday Night Lights. So that's what I'm kind of working on.
That'll be a straight comedy.
Yeah, that'll be. Yeah. And then she's got a horror film.
Yeah, we're still shooting, but hopefully it'll be finished this year and, out next year sometime. It's called The Executioner. Yeah. So that's no explanation. Yeah. It's just but my character is very sweet, the happy, bright light in that movie. So I like that.
Well, that's awesome. We do have another question. dialogue craft budget wise, were you able to make what you planned? But I think we already talked about that.
Yeah,
It sort of ballooned up from what you planned, right?
I don't know how you plan a budget, like,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, it's just, yeah, it didn't plan, it's exponentially way more than we thought it was going to cost. But
Probably triple.
even now, it still cost us to promote it, it's like people say all the time, always, you want a budget, but you also want a budget for distribution
Marketing.
and marketing. And that's so hard to do because you run out of money and you want to put everything on screen. And then when you run out of money, you got to get money again and then keep going. And then so it's for an indie filmmaker, it feels like just a constant process of trying to get the funds to do the next process.
Marketing has been the most
next portion of
stressful
the
part.
process.
It's just been so stressful. But where there's a will, there's a way. We thought we thought the most expensive part of making a film would be the production, but it's like after the post-production, holy moly, like I didn't like plan for that. I had no idea that special effects and just everything that we were doing in post-production was going to cost them.
Yeah, a lot of movies will get shot and a lot won't even. I mean, I've been in a few micro budgets and I know a lot of people that said, oh, we shot the movie, they just never finished it. And that's a lot of films out there.
Actually, only 97% of independent films never go anywhere, and so we're like, woof, the impossible.
But
here.
yeah, if you can plan your budget, plan for all the way through distribution and marketing and advertising, which I'm going to try to for the next one, but who knows?
And maybe a good rule of thumb is a third of the budget for the actual filming, and then a third for post-production, and then a third for marketing. I don't know. That might be a good rule of thumb. At least that's kind of what we're experiencing. And we had only planned for production. So.
Yeah, I would think you would know much better than I would. I have no idea. Well, I do want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me today. This has been awesome. And I can't wait to hear about how the rest of the tour goes.
Thanks so much, Jim. Really appreciate you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.
And if you guys watch IPossessed, it's available next week, April 8 on Vudu, Apple TV, and Amazon. If you could write a review or give us a rating, be brutally honest. We're not asking for anything else but honesty, but that would be so helpful for us. Thank you.
Thank you guys. You guys have a great night.
You too. Stay in touch, Jim. Talk soon.
Oh, absolutely. We'll do.